Every boatload of any form of drug that poisons the American people is an imminent threat. At the DOD, our job is to defeat imminent threats. A foreign terrorist organization poisoning your people with drugs coming from a drug cartel is no different than Al-Qaeda. We smoked a drug boat, and there's 11 narco-terrorists at the bottom of the ocean, and when other people try to do that, they're going to meet the same fate.
Sending quite a message to Venezuela and the cartels. President Trump committing more assets to counter foreign cartels, while Democrats are vilifying him, claiming he did not act within his legal authority when he authorized military force to decimate that alleged drug peddling speedboat, which was headed directly for the United States. Meanwhile, the Trump administration says those allegations are a farce and that Tuesday's strike was only the beginning for those looking to terrorize the United States of America. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, here with my co-host, Harris Faulkner. Also joining us, Nicole Parker. Not Nicole Parker. Oh, my goodness. That is Dr. Nicole Saphier. We got that one wrong.
I love Nicole Parker. She's wonderful.
We love you both. Two great Nicoles. I'll take either one. And Rosanna Scotto, Fox 5, New York anchor and host of The Underground Economy on Fox Nation. And Guy Benson, Fox News contributor and host of The Guy Benson Show on Fox News Radio. Well, let's start here. Secretary of State Marco Rubio gave praise to President Trump for going on offense, saying the attack was life-saving and a legal use of his presidential authority.
This one was operating in international waters, headed towards the United States to flood our country with poison, and under President Trump, those days are over.
Well, Trump has spent months trying to undo what Biden failed to do for the last 4 years. Now, according to the NIH, there were over 400,000 overdose deaths under former President Biden. Think about that, 400,000 Americans gone. And Democrats won't give Trump the recognition because they're too busy pandering to the criminals, like Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen, who famously sat down for some drinks with MS-13 member Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Well, Van Hollen didn't stop there. Listen to this beauty from MSNBC.
Am I crazy? Am I wrong here that this seems to violate both U.S. and international law?
Chris, you're absolutely right. What this was an extrajudicial killing, pure and simple. It was illegal. I think the Trump administration just wanted to get a video of a boat blowing up because they did that at the same time they're cutting the federal budget when it comes to actual drug enforcement and serious drug trafficking.
Dr. Saphier, so this was all about Trump wanting to get a video. Van Hollen uses the term, this is illegal on many counts. And we'll get to the law in a moment. I have that ready to go. Illegal on many counts. I want to bring up another count. It's one we just showed in the intro. It's the 400,000 Americans who have died of fentanyl. 400,000 daughters, sons, brothers, sisters not here because an attack, I'm going to call it an attack, on the United States, drug smuggling across our border and over our seas.
You know, the Wall Street Journal essentially did a hit piece on the Trump administration over this, and they quoted Juan Gonzalez, who was part of the Biden administration, saying that they needed to show legitimate self-defense for this attack and saying he did not do this. And just as you pointed out, 80,000 Americans died of drug overdoses last year. That's more than car accidents and homicides combined. That's more than the 23,000 worldwide deaths from terrorist attacks in 2023. So the way I see it, drugs coming into our country is the biggest national security threat we have. And yes, maybe we have a slight decrease in the drug overdose deaths, which people are celebrating. The reality is this is not a victory. This is just a temporary reprieve from the expanded use of naloxone. We have always played defense when it comes to drug overdose. We are plugging holes, we are fixing walls, we are getting drugs, and we are having to clean up all of these overdoses. But the time is now that we go on the offensive when it comes to drug cartels, and President Trump is doing just that.
You know, I want to get to the law, too, Guy. Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress the power to declare war. But there are a slew of Office of Legal Counsel opinions. That's not binding authority, but they cite binding authority going back to 1980 that illustrate the president's expansive power with foreign affairs. I want to pull up this memo from 1980. The president's inherent constitutional authority as commander-in-chief, his broad foreign policy power, and his duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed generally empower him to deploy the armed forces abroad without a declaration of war by Congress or other congressional authorization. It goes on, and there's much more nuance. This will have to be litigated by the Supreme Court. Nevertheless, he has broad authority to act.
As a commander-in-chief, as all presidents do, I'm not an expert on international law or his presidential authority in this narrow context. I would like to see that debate play out. I also wouldn't mind seeing Congress actually vote on this, because I would love to see who would vote no, who would look at this type of action from the United States and say, no, we actually want to protect these drug traffickers and cartel members. That's a vote that I would welcome, actually, on Capitol Hill. I think there's clearly a deterrence here, right? Because Senator Van Hollen, who has a completely screwed up moral compass, whether it's Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Israel, Hamas, he's really disgraced himself in recent years. So the fact that he's hardcore against this, I think, is almost an argument in favor of it. But, you know, he's going to make the case like, oh, this is just a photo op. Well, it's not a photo op to the drug smugglers who are now at the bottom of the ocean, number one. And number two, it's not just going to be consumed, that video here at home. You think the cartels didn't pay attention to what they saw in that video? Might that change their conduct and their decision-making? I think that would be at least part of the calculus here that was completely dismissed in the clip that we watched.
I love the idea of the vote because, Harris, I could name a few that I'm just going to surmise might vote against this. Maybe all of the senators we watched on the Hill yesterday in the RFK hearing, maybe Sanders, maybe Warren, definitely Van Hollen. We could come up with a list.
Yeah, it becomes a midterm issue then, which is fascinating. Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, what you were talking about, Nicole, in terms of how much we have put into the survivability of these overdoses because there's so much of this illicit drug use on our streets. I think that's important to say. We have slowed things down at the border, but there's a tremendous amount of that product already here in the United States. We have many more lives to protect and save because of what happened under the Biden administration and for even years before that, but precipitously bad under Biden. But then you've got to figure out, well, okay, why is the president sending 10 F-fighters to the Caribbean, to Puerto Rico, to base them there for a little while? Well, because these are cartels that are just going to do what they do. They're going to figure out a new avenue in.
They're already getting smarter. They already have new ways of coming in.
Absolutely. And that corridor up to that part of our United States, you heard Marco Rubio, our now Secretary of State, then Senator of Florida when he was dealing with it, right? I mean, they know that when they come up through the Caribbean, Florida's going to get hit. Come on. We've got to gear up for this. I love the way that the former AG of Florida, Ashley Moody, now Senator, put it last hour. She said, this president has new ideas. She begged Biden to come up with new ways. He wouldn't do it. Trump is doing it now.
Rosanna Hegseth, we heard him at the beginning of this segment use the word offense. And I think it's apropos that we're doing this story on a day where the Department of Defense is going to be relabeled the Department of War. To me, it just encompasses the entire foreign policy of President Trump. Offense, offense, offense. We will go on offense to protect Americans, whether it means bombing Fordo or protecting Americans from fentanyl by going after the cartels.
Kayleigh, I'm thinking, you know, the war on drugs has been a topic for decades. Yeah. Administration after administration, millions, if not billions, has been spent on trying to get rid of drugs on our streets. And yet, it doesn't seem like we've made a dent. Now, I don't know whether this is constitutional or not. I'm not in that field to weigh in on that. But I will say it says a very strong message. And if you're going to be one of those people who's going to be a mule and take drugs in, maybe you'll think twice about your life. Maybe it's not a done deal that you're going to make it to America. Hey, listen, in New York, we have places all around the city that are safe places to shoot up. And people in those neighborhoods, they know what it's like. They're dealing with the war on drugs right in their neighborhood. Yeah. Something has to be done. A message has to be sent. Maybe this is the message.
And in addition to what's going on with Pete Hegseth and President Trump, what they're saying, we also have to focus on Mexico because they're allowing the cartels to continue to grow, you know, cut them off at the knees when it comes to their finances and also stop the supply of drugs coming across from China and other places. And I mean, this is a huge effort.
And I know there are a lot of legal experts naysaying this, but pulling back to the Harvard constitutional law days, there is vast power to act. There is a ton of 2001 opinion making that might, in fact, give the president some authority if, in fact, these cartels are legally classified as terrorist organizations. A big if. The Supreme Court, though, they'll have a voice in this.
Well, Senator Moody of Florida was saying that the designation already that the president has made has given him legal landscape, if you will, to move forward along with what you're citing.
Yep,
These cartels are responsible for more American deaths than any other terrorist organization. So they need to be treated as a terrorist organization. And as Pete Hegseth said, we have to go on the offense if we care at all about American lives.
And the battlefield has changed when you have 400,000 Americans dying here at home by drugs shipped across.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.